guys, welcome to this tutorial. So this was a shoot that I was working on. This is a lovely Louise, a model for the day. I'm just giving her a little bit of skin prep with Ombre Elise. I mixed this with a little bit of Iconic highlighter, looked really nice. Massaging it into the skin. So making sure that the skin looks awesome before you put on any makeup is really important. So I like to massage it into the skin to bring the collagen to the surface. And I always start with the eyes. Everyone has their way of doing their makeup and I like to start with eyes, and this is a P. Louise base. I apply it with a little concealer brush and I'm going to pat it in a moment, I think, to get it nice and sticky, and that gives it a really nice sticky texture so that the eyeshadow stays. So I'm using a little bit of concealer just to sculpt out Louise's brows, and the concealer that I'm using is Studio Fix Concealer by MAC, and this is in the shade NC20. Use a little bit of a bigger concealer brush to do that. So now we're starting on the brows, and I'm using a Real Techniques angled brush and a Zoeva eyebrow palette just to enhance the brows. So this shoot was outside in was the brief. So working with Louise's colouring, I thought we would give her quite a defined brow, and as you'll see later on, that works quite nicely with the eyeshadow we use. So I always use a spoolie to brush through and make sure that there are no areas where there's more dense colour than others. I'm actually mixing the two deeper colour browns just to get the right colour for Louise's brows. I find if you use one colour, then you get too much of a block. So we're making the eyes a little bit more, eyebrows a little bit more fluffy in texture, using a little bit of soap on a spoolie. I really like this because it gives life back to the brows once you've defined them. And everyone wonders why I'm putting soap through the brows, but it also keeps any stray hairs in place too. So I've actually sped this up, and this is the eyeshadow application. All of the colours come from the Urban Decay Heat palette, and this is the lightest two. Just going straight over the brow, and I'm using a fluffy MAC 217 brush. And if you note, I'm actually holding the brush halfway down. It's really important when you're doing a more blown out eyeshadow look that you don't have too much pressure on the brush. So if you hold it halfway down, then you're not using it like a pen. When you use a brush like a pen, so when you hold your fingers up close, then that's when you get the most densest of colour. What you want to do is to use a light wash of colour and build it up. So holding it halfway down the brush with a little lighter hand will really get that blown out effect. And what you can see now is me going in with the medium shades of the palette, and I'm using small circular motions just along Louise's crease. This allows me to really emphasize that area of Louise's eyeshadow. It's a really pretty look if you have blue eyes, green eyes, grey eyes. The warm tones, the red undertones of this eyeshadow palette really work. So lots of light layers to build up the colour, and I'm concentrating the darker shades on that outer third. So I always use a three-step technique where we have a lighter shade across the lid, and then a warmer shade across the outer third, and then using a deeper colour through the crease. Now this is actually a watercolour paintbrush that I use to blend out shadow. It's really soft and it just creates the most lovely diffuse line, and I like it because we've used it to kind of blow out the shadow. So I'm taking two of the deep colours and I'm using an angled brush. This one's Real Techniques, just to place the colour at the lash line. So it's building up a base for the eyeliner. So the eyeliner I'm using is Bourbon, and that's Urban Decay, and it's one of their 24/7 liners. Now what I like to do is to really warm it up on the back of my hand before I apply it along the lash line. With kohl pencils you can blend them, and that's one of my favourite things to do because it creates a beautiful smoky line. If you're not confident with eyeliner, then this is a fantastic way of getting that depth at the lash line, but without needing to be too neat. So as you can see, I'm going back in and blending. Unfortunately, my head's in the way of some of it, so I do apologise. So we are applying a little bit of mascara. So as you'll see shortly, we're going to be popping individual lashes on Louise. So this is just for definition and depth. And the one I use is Max Factor Full Slash Effect. So here I am, matching foundation to Louise. Her skin tone needs to be the same as her neck. So as you can see, I checked down the neck as well to make sure. We're using a Real Techniques buffing brush, and the foundation I'm using here is MAC Face and Body. And I really love this foundation because it creates a beautiful skin texture. So it's quite glowy, and also as well it's water based, so when it dries down it's transfer resistant. So again, I'm just taking the smudger brush and a little bit of the bourbon just to create a little bit more intensity, and what I'm using this is just to wing out. So as you can see, I've taken a pencil brush and just blowing it out, and then creating a little bit more depth by taking a fluffy brush again. So once you've got the actual base on, you can see how much you need to use to really get the look to have a balance. So I've decided to put a little bit more in. So one of the reasons why I start with the eyes is because if there's any powder that falls down, I won't be wiping away the concealer hard work that I've done. So I was just taking a little bit of micellar water on a cotton bud to clear up. So I'm back in again with a Studio Fix concealer under the eyes. This is Kane and Nikki, who are the fabulous team behind this shoot. So as you can see from our laughter, we had an absolutely brilliant time creating this look and this shoot. And I put a couple of the pictures at the end so that you can see the final images. So I take a little bit of that concealer just on a concealer brush and just pat it in with my finger. This process is sped up, but I like to go in with lots of light layers. So here I use a square brush, and I'm actually taking the warm chili colour from the palette and then just smudging it over the top of bourbon, which you can see me laying down now. And I'm just taking that just along the lash line, so not on top of the lashes, but actually underneath. And taking that flat brush and just smudging it down. I like to take, when I'm doing a smoky, I like to take it down a little bit under the eye line so that it creates kind of a really nice haze of colour. So as you can see, I build that up again, so lots of light layers so that we don't go in with a heavy opaque colour to start. Louise's eye shape was perfectly almond, so having that kind of smokiness and depth of that outer colour was really beneficial to her eye shape. It really did bring out the most of it. So I'm going back in again and just building up that colour. I like to make sure that my outer part of my eyeshadow meets the top, so you've got that liner that meets, so that there's no gap between the upper lash line and the lower lash line, to keep it nice and clean. So as you can see, that's kind of created a nice halo around Louise's eyes. So just building up that intensity just to make it really pop. So here we go with some individual lashes. So I used duo glue and tweezers to pop those on, and I do those in 2 stages. So I popped on some shorts. And now we're going back in, and this is a little bit of Studio Fix Fluid by MAC, just through the very centre, just where we need a little bit more coverage. Now I've moved on to lips, which I tend to do before cheeks so that I can create a nice balance. And this is Soar Lip Liner by MAC. I always prep the lips with a little bit of flavoured sugar, so you can get one from Lush or you can get them from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. It creates a really nice smooth base for lipstick. Really good if you have dry or chapped lips. So this one's a little bit tickly. I like to have my pencil sharp, so I always apologise. And I always draw upwards on the top line as well, so I never drag the line down. I work from the inner corner up to the Cupid's bow. So we'll get Louise to press that into her lips, and then I've used a fluffy brush with a little bit of Velvet Teddy lipstick by MAC. By using a fluffy brush, it gives a really relaxed finish, so it's not like a thick lipstick, it's just quite nice and relaxed and dispersed along the lip. I'm using, if you can see from behind my head, a little bit of concealer just to go around the lip line. I really like this just to keep it all nice and clean. A little bit of Rockstar blush by Benefit. And these brushes I absolutely love. These are Real Techniques point brushes. Oh, absolutely adore them. So this is the lovely Kim popping in to start with hair. So I like to kind of press and lift up towards the top of the cheekbone with my blush. And as you can see, Louise has a killer bone structure. So I just wanted to emphasise that. We're going in with some medium length individual lashes now. I really love these. They are always out of stock at Sally's, which breaks my heart, but they're extreme individual lashes. So they really add a nice bit of volume without looking and feeling too heavy. I think strip lashes can sometimes be a little bit heavy, and the look we were going for today needed that to be a little bit more relaxed. So I use a mix of short and mediums to create like a really fluffy texture. And Louise's eye shape just really benefited from having a cluster of that mediums on the outer, so that we can really make the most of her lash. So off camera we popped a little bit of mascara on her bottom lashes too, so that we had that little bit of extra depth. So I finish off the look with a little bit of MAC Blot Powder, and then that look is complete. And big thanks to all the suppliers involved, especially Louise and photographer Nikki. I'm going to link all the suppliers down below. Have a great day.